talk about cost control, and I wanted to ask you a little bit more about your views on the situation we're in today, where the environment that we're faced with is where CFOs, CEOs and exec boards are all looking to significantly take out cost and improve cash management. And that means that many of your clients at the moment are approaching you, being charged to set up shared service centres, but also at the same time being asked to take out maybe 30% costs by Christmas '09. What's your response to those clients, and how should they deal with that sort of demand?
In the last 6 months, Emma, there are so many organisations that are putting that type of pressure, both from a cost perspective and a time frame perspective, onto senior GMs and group general managers in the business, that it's been quite amazing, particularly since January. We have to take huge cost out, we have to do it fast. The thing I would say on shared services or outsourcing is don't set yourself up to fail right from the start by setting unrealistic expectations on what can actually be achieved. If you're not putting the right elements of your operating model in place and you're just after cost, then it won't be sustainable. You may take some heads out, you may take some cost out, but to think that the business will actually survive and feel that they're getting the same quality of service, it won't happen. So you've got to start with the elements of the operating model, and cost will then flow.
You talked about the 6 elements briefly as the session closed. We didn't get a chance to hear in more detail what those 6 elements are. Can you expand on what those are for our members who might not be aware?
As you're setting up a shared service centre, that right from the start, you've got to work out what the business strategy is. Now, some businesses at the moment are trying to be very agile, execute very fast, and look at core and non-core. There's no point going, we're just going to set up shared services across everything. If some of those assets are going to be disposed, some of there's going to be restructuring. So you've got to understand what the strategy is. Right from that gives you some design principles which will flow into your shared services. So that's the first thing. The second thing is understanding the requirements of those core businesses. We talk about business requirements a lot, but it needs to be more than an interview or a discussion and start to write some facts down. If I feel that the business requirements can't be defined in a service level on a page, and what the business will then do, operating level on a page, type service requirements, you're not really understanding what the shared services and the operating is going to have to do. Third thing is the process model. How do we streamline the processes? We've got 50 ways of doing a standard process, call it recruitment, call it some other functions. You've got to get some standardisation, and that takes leadership. And the delivery model is the fourth one. Where are things going to be done? You don't have to always aggregate everything into one centre. You can have a number of hub and spokes. You can have 3 or 4 locations. We've actually set up probably one of our most successful, helping a client with our most successful one, has 3 different centres across a number of different countries. And that was, for them, absolutely the right model in the delivery model. So you need to work that out. The fifth thing is around structure. Too many people start with structure. They go, so here's the new structure of a shared services, starting usually with themselves. You know, structure flows from those other 4 elements. And structure has everything from the type of people management, the KPIs, how they're going to be measured, how to be incenting those people to be successful. And the last level is technology. The application layer, which will enable all that. Don't start with application. Application enables it. Those elements have to be right. You get those elements in synchronisation, you get them prioritised the right way when you're actually putting your shared services in place, then the dollars will flow. Because people will get the quality of service what they want. They'll actually see the improvements and the dollars will happen.
And James, just finally, before we close, I wonder if on the back of our first question about the clients who are under that great pressure, I wonder if you could give our members maybe one key tip as a next step that you're sending people away with, some advice to somebody who's got this extreme demand upon their shoulders.
And we had this question just 5 minutes ago as I'm sitting over here on the left. What should I do next? And some people don't understand the complexity of shared services. The one thing I would do would take the 4 weeks, 6 weeks at the start to put in front of the CEO and the executive team. Our current state looks like this. We have 320 people doing finance functions across our 8 divisions. Why do we have them in every division? There is no reason. The commonality is all over the place, but we have duplicate functions everywhere. The processes, we have 42 ways of doing this process. I would put the facts up. I would go, this is where we can go to, but unless we use this opportunity right now to be an accelerator, an imperative for change if you like, we're not going to make anything more than incremental change, and use the global recession and all the pressure that's on at the moment to accelerate into the transform lever that we talked about earlier to really drive that change. And if you've got the executive team on board, you feel they're absolutely on board with what you're doing, it will be successful.
So basically work out where you are before you can find out where you're going.
Yeah, and don't try and do some incremental things. Go strategically, 18 months, 2 years. This is what it can look like, but I need your support.
Brilliant.
Not in isolation.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.